If porn were harmless, it wouldn't be quietly reshaping your brain. Let me challenge you with something uncomfortable. If this were just about sex, you would have quit already. So why haven't you? Why does a short burst of pleasure overpower your discipline, your goals, even your identity? Here's what almost nobody explains properly. Porn addiction is not about high libido. It's not about morality. And it's definitely not about weak willpower. It's about dopamine overload. Every time you scroll, click, and consume, your brain receives stimulation levels it was never designed to handle. Over time, it adapts. It lowers its sensitivity, and suddenly, normal life starts to feel flat. Work feels dull. Real intimacy feels less exciting. Motivation drops. Focus disappears. You think you need more discipline, but the real issue is neurological rewiring. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how porn hijacks your dopamine system, why quitting feels almost impossible, and how to reset your brain at the root level. Because once you understand the mechanism, you stop blaming yourself, and you finally regain control. Most advice about quitting porn completely misses the point. People tell you to just stop, use website blockers, stay busy, pray more, try harder, replace it with another habit. And when that doesn't work, they assume you lack discipline. But here's the problem. All of those strategies target behavior. None of them address the biological driver behind the behavior. They are trying to trim the leaves while ignoring the roots. The mainstream conversation treats porn addiction like a moral issue or a self-control issue. Even some medical discussions reduce it to a compulsive behavior disorder. But very few explain what is actually happening inside your brain that makes it so powerful. The real issue is chronic dopamine overstimulation. Your brain runs on a reward system. Dopamine is not just the pleasure chemical, as many people simplify it. It's the molecule of motivation. It tells your brain, this is important. Do this again. Now think about modern pornography. It offers endless novelty, endless variety, instant access, infinite scrolling. Each new image, each new scene, each new click delivers another spike of dopamine. Your brain was never designed for unlimited novelty at that speed. In nature, dopamine spikes were rare and meaningful. Finding food, forming bonds, achieving goals. Today, you can trigger massive dopamine surges in seconds without effort, without risk, without real-world engagement. And your brain adapts. When dopamine is constantly elevated, your brain protects itself. It downregulates receptors. It reduces sensitivity. This means you need more stimulation to feel the same effect. This is the root mechanism behind why sessions escalate, why content becomes more extreme, why just one look turns into an hour. But here's the deeper issue most people miss. This adaptation doesn't stay confined to porn. When your baseline dopamine sensitivity drops, everything else in life feels less rewarding. Work feels harder. Studying feels exhausting. Conversations feel less stimulating. Goals lose their emotional pull. You're not lazy. Your reward circuitry has been recalibrated. So when you try to quit, you're not just fighting a habit. You're fighting a brain that has adjusted to a new, artificially high stimulation threshold. That's why willpower alone fails. Because willpower doesn't fix receptor sensitivity. Until you address the dopamine dysregulation at its root, you'll keep cycling between short-term abstinence and relapse. And once you understand this mechanism, something powerful happens. You stop seeing yourself as broken, and you start seeing the biological system that needs recalibration. Now let's go deeper. I want you to imagine your brain like a sound system. Dopamine is the volume knob for motivation and reward. When something meaningful happens, the volume goes up. You feel drive, focus, anticipation. That surge pushes you to repeat the behavior. But here's the key. Your brain doesn't like the volume being maxed out all the time. When you repeatedly flood your system with high-intensity stimulation, like endless novelty from porn, the brain responds the way it always does to overstimulation. It turns the volume down. This process is called receptor downregulation. Think of dopamine receptors like tiny locks that dopamine molecules unlock. The more you overstimulate them, the fewer responsive locks remain available. It's a protective mechanism. Your brain is trying to maintain balance. But balance comes at a cost. When receptor sensitivity drops, your baseline dopamine state shifts downward. That means your everyday experiences no longer generate enough stimulation to activate your reward system properly. This is why simple pleasures feel flat. Reading a book, going to the gym, having a normal conversation, working on a long-term goal. These activities produce moderate dopamine increases, the kind that are healthy and sustainable. But compared to the artificial spikes from high-speed novelty, they feel underwhelming. Now let's talk about escalation. With fewer responsive receptors, you need stronger stimulation to achieve the same effect. This is tolerance. The same content that once felt exciting becomes less impactful. So the brain searches for novelty, more intensity, more variety, more extremes. And here's something most people don't realize. Dopamine is more about anticipation than pleasure. The biggest spike doesn't happen at climax. It happens in the seeking, the scrolling, the searching, the maybe the next one will be better. That anticipation loop is what wires addiction. Every time you engage in that search pattern, you strengthen neural pathways associated with instant gratification. Over time, those pathways become dominant. They become the brain's preferred route for stimulation. Meanwhile, the circuits responsible for delayed gratification, focus, patience, long-term planning, get weaker from lack of use. This is neuroplasticity in action. Your brain physically reorganizes itself around repeated behaviors. And here's where it gets even more important. Chronic dopamine overstimulation can affect the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for impulse control and decision-making. When dopamine regulation is disrupted, the prefrontal cortex becomes less efficient. That's why urges feel overpowering. It's not just desire. It's reduced top-down control. So when you relapse, it's not because you're incapable of discipline. It's because your motivational circuitry has been trained to prioritize immediate reward over long-term value. But here's the good news. Neuroplasticity works both ways. If the brain can rewire toward overstimulation, it can also rewire back toward balance. Receptors can regain sensitivity. Baseline dopamine levels can stabilize. The prefrontal cortex can strengthen again. But only if you remove the constant artificial spikes and allow the system to recalibrate. Once you understand that this is a biological adaptation, not a character flaw, everything changes because now the focus shifts from shame to strategy. Now we move from understanding to action. If the root problem is dopamine dysregulation, then the solution is dopamine recalibration, not suppression, not shame, recalibration. Here's exactly how you begin. Number one, remove the artificial spikes completely. You cannot reset your system while still feeding it extreme stimulation. That means full abstinence from porn, not less, not only sometimes. Your brain needs a clean break. Every exposure reactivates the same neural pathways. If you want receptors to regain sensitivity, the overstimulation must stop. This is not punishment, it's neurological recovery. Number two, eliminate high dopamine substitutes. Many people quit porn and immediately replace it with endless social media scrolling, junk food binges, or gaming marathons. Same mechanism, different source. If your goal is recalibration, you must temporarily reduce all artificial dopamine spikes. That includes hyperpalatable foods, constant short-form content, and compulsive digital stimulation. You're lowering the noise so your system can reset. Number 3, reintroduce natural dopamine sources. Now we rebuild properly. Exercise, especially resistance training and high-intensity intervals, increases dopamine receptor availability over time. Sunlight exposure early in the day helps regulate dopamine and circadian rhythm. Cold exposure, even short cold showers, can increase dopamine in a controlled, healthy way. Real-world social interaction strengthens reward pathways linked to bonding rather than novelty seeking. These are not hacks. They are biological inputs your brain evolved to respond to. Number 4, train delayed gratification. Your brain needs practice choosing long-term rewards over immediate ones. Set small daily challenges. Finish a task before checking your phone. Complete a workout before entertainment. Read 20 pages before scrolling. Each time you delay gratification, you strengthen your prefrontal cortex. Discipline is not a personality trait. It's a trainable neural circuit. Number 5, expect withdrawal and normalize it. When dopamine sensitivity is low, removing stimulation creates discomfort. You may feel flat, irritable, unmotivated. That doesn't mean it's not working. It means your system is recalibrating. This phase is temporary, and it is a sign that your baseline is adjusting upward again. The mistake most people make is quitting during this phase because they interpret discomfort as failure. It's actually progress. If you consistently remove artificial spikes and replace them with natural, effort-based rewards, your brain will slowly restore balance. Receptors regain sensitivity, motivation returns, focus improves, real-life experiences become stimulating again. Not overnight, but predictably. And that predictability is powerful. Now, here's something most people don't connect. Dopamine dysregulation doesn't just affect addiction. It directly impacts anxiety, motivation, and even erectile dysfunction. If you've been struggling with low drive, brain fog, or performance issues, it may not be psychological at all. It may be the same reward system imbalance we just discussed. In the next video, I break down how dopamine affects sexual performance and long-term confidence, and what you can do to fully restore both. Click on that video now.